Hey, Film with Dad family, how are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm Alejandro, and today we're going to be starting a series of videos that is all about camera lenses. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the variety of different lenses that there are, and then in future lessons, we're actually going to go into detail on each specific lens. So what most people start with is a kit lens. A kit lens is usually something like this lens. This one in particular is the Sony Alpha lens, which is a 16 to 50 millimeter. And typically with these lenses, they usually start off in the mid-teen millimeter range all the way up to somewhere in the 50s, like 50, 55, something like that. The kit lens is typically a type of lens that comes with a camera when you buy it. And this one in particular, actually, I bought it separate. So I bought the body of my camera by itself, and then I bought a kit lens separately. This is actually the kit lens that comes with a little bit more expensive camera than what I originally bought, but I wanted to have a little bit higher quality lens to work with my cameras, so I got this one, and it's probably my favorite lens that I use right now. Also, a nice thing about this lens that it goes pretty wide. It goes all the way down to a 16 millimeter, and this is the widest lens that I have. I don't have a wide angle lens, although that would be awesome. I do want to experiment with a wide angle lens at some point. The ones that I've seen have been really expensive. So if you guys know of an alpha lens that actually is a wide angle lens that goes wider than 16 millimeter, and it's actually a good price, let me know down in the comments section because I'd love to check it out. Typically the lens that comes with the camera, or the kit lens, is a zoom lens, so you can actually change the focal length. There we go. You can see that it actually telescopes up and down, and that allows us to change it, in this case, from 16 millimeter all the way up to 50 millimeters. It gives us a wide variety of lens types that we can use, and it's a very awesome starter lens because of that. Next, let's take a look at a more telescopic lens, or a narrow lens. It's also known as a long lens. This is one of my long lenses that I have. It's a Sony Alpha 55 to 200. It starts bridging the gap from where we left off, pretty close at least, with the 16 to 50. It jumps up to 55 and it goes all the way up to 200. This type of lens will actually give you what is considered a narrow field of view. This is also still a zoom type lens, so you can see that we can actually change the focal lengths from, in this case, 55 all the way up to 200. Both of the lenses that I've showed you so far are both automatic lenses, and they are both zooming style lenses. The next lens that I want to show you is a prime lens. This prime lens is a 50 millimeter. A lot of people also call it the Nifty 50. This lens is still an automatic lens, but it has a fixed focal distance of 50 millimeters, so there's no way to actually zoom in and out the lens. It does have the focus ring on the top, so it does kind of telescope a tiny bit, but this is just for focusing. It actually doesn't change the focal length of the lens. So why would you want a lens that does not zoom and is more limited because of that? Well, typically with a prime lens, you actually get a higher quality image and within a lens that costs less money. Because there's less moving parts, they can actually get the lens to have a very sharp focus. Another thing that is really nice about this lens is that the aperture opens up a lot wider, and typically prime lenses do have an aperture that open much more than the equivalent zoom type lens. So let's look at the next lens so that we can take a little closer look at what the aperture is, and also give you a look at a different style of lens. This lens is still a prime lens. It is a 28 millimeter lens. It is also a manual lens, which is different than the other lenses that we've seen so far. A cool thing about this manual lens is that we have control over the aperture. So here we can see that we actually have the lens set to an f/16, and that's just the f-stop, or the size of the aperture. I'll show you right now when I change it. If we bring it up, you can see it actually gets bigger. And if we go back and forth, you can actually see the aperture changing. At the biggest that we have on this lens is a 2.8. Being able to open up the aperture more actually allows more light into the sensor, and doing that this way gives you a bokeh effect, which basically means that you're able to blur out the foreground and the background and give it a very cinematic look. Now let's look at this lens. There's a few special things about this lens. This is a manual lens, but it is a zoom lens, so it's a bit different than the other ones we've looked at. We have control of the aperture here. There we go. We have control of the aperture. Zoom on this lens, I control it by moving it up and down here. I have control of the focus. So this is actually kind of cool because I can control both the zoom and the focus with one hand without having it on multiple different types of controls. Typically they'll be on two separate rings. This one actually does everything on one ring. This lens also has something interesting because I bought this on accident thinking that it would actually fit my camera, but it didn't. But what I found out is that you can actually get these adapters, and it changes the mount type from one to another. So in this case, I am switching it from an MD to an alpha mount. So that's something to keep in mind when you're getting lenses, is that they'll have different lens mount types, and you have to make sure that they're compatible with your camera. These are all the lenses that I currently have. I am missing a wide angle lens, so something that goes underneath the 16mm range down to like about 10mm. I also don't have an ultra long lens or an ultra telescopic lens that goes into the 300s or 500 range. So those are two kind of lenses within the range that I don't have yet. Maybe someday I will. So in the next set of lessons, I'm actually going to take out each one of these lenses and kind of take it through its paces and show you different techniques for using each of the different types of lenses and their strengths and weaknesses. Let me know down in the comment section which lens would you like me to take out first. We have the nifty 50. We have this manual telescopic lens. We have the Sony automatic telescopic lens. We have this 28mm manual lens that I really haven't used too much, and it will actually be pretty interesting for me to go test this out. And finally, the kit lens. Let me know which one is the one you guys want me to start with. If you're interested in getting any of these lenses, or you want to find out more information about them, I have a few affiliate links down in the description. Other than that, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video.